Certainly the biggest crowd I've ever seen at Brands Hatch. The weather overcast and the wind dropping just before the start, so a threat of rain to heighten the drama. And what all the people had come to see was what was on paper, at any rate, looked like being the finest British Grand Prix of all time. Only 25 cars could qualify out of the 37 entrants, so that meant keen competition in practice. In fact, all 25 to qualify broke the existing lap record at 1:23, established in March of last year. And in the final positions for the grid, only 1 second covered the 9 fastest cars. Ahead of them, 75 laps on the 2.65-mile full Grand Prix circuit, 199 miles to the checkered flag. 3/4 of the way through the season, this is the 10th in the series. You can see that Niki Lauda has a lead of 4 points over Clay Regazzoni. Fittipaldi, Jody Scheckter well up, having come up recently, and the rest of the field. Now, Niki Lauda is in pole position for this race, having brought the Ferrari 312B3 round towards the last minutes of practice yesterday in 1 minute 19.7 seconds, which by a curious mathematical coincidence is 119.7 miles an hour. The point is that he has broken the mystic 120. Whereas Ronnie Peterson alongside him in car number 1, the JPS 72E, 4-year-old design, modified right up to date, equaled Lauda's time of 119.7. He is 5th in the World Championship, as you saw, with 19 points, and he's really hungry to go. There's the 10-second board, 75 laps, 199 miles to the checkered flag. Niki Lauda in pole position alongside Ronnie Peterson. And it's Lauda leading. Clean start all the way, Lauda ahead of Peterson. And the field safely through paddock. Now up to Druids, and it's still Lauda in the Ferrari ahead of Jody Scheckter in second place. And then Regazzoni has got up well ahead of Peterson. So it's still Niki Lauda really putting on the pressure from Jody Scheckter, Clay Regazzoni and Ronnie Peterson as they go through South Bank Bend. Ronnie Peterson on the outside there ahead of Carlos Reutemann. There's Lauda looking for Scheckter with Regazzoni and Peterson and Reutemann right on his tail. So it's car number 12, Niki Lauda with the Ferrari in the lead. And look at the lead he's pulled out as he storms through Hawthorns with Jody Scheckter on his tail, and then Clay Regazzoni and then Ronnie Peterson as the field sweeps through Westfield. Now the short dash down Dingledale. Just look at that high-speed traffic jam. There's Graham Hill and Peter Gethin bringing up the tail end of the field. Coming down through Dingle to Sterling's now, and Niki Lauda's really putting on the pressure at this opening seconds and pulling away from Jody Scheckter in second place and Clay Regazzoni, and Lauda in the Ferrari has really got a flyer as he comes past the pits at 155 and more on the first lap. It's Lauda, Scheckter, Regazzoni, Peterson, Reutemann, and then Emerson Fittipaldi. And there you see the lead on the long straight where they're knocking 180 miles an hour. How much Niki Lauda looking into his mirror there to see where Jody Scheckter is, and it's Regazzoni still ahead of Peterson and Reutemann and Emerson Fittipaldi. And look again at the gap. Jody Scheckter now opening out a gap ahead of Regazzoni, who's still holding off Peterson, and Reutemann just falling back a little bit. The rest of the field well strung out. Lauda through Scheckter, through Regazzoni, through Peterson on his tail. There's Reutemann, there's Emerson. There's Tom Price well up, showing that his practice time in the shadow was not just a flash in the pan, this brilliant Welsh newcomer to the field. And Niki Lauda really trying immensely hard, and with a disadvantage because he's got more petrol in his tanks than, for instance, the JPS, Jackie Stewart.
Yes, correct. The Ford engine certainly travels with less fuel, less oil, less water, in fact, probably than the Ferrari. But at this time, the Ferrari has been performing very well this year. Niki Lauda's driving in a very mature way, one of the most developed drivers over this year. The number 12 Ferrari there that you can see, beautifully controlled. Niki's controlled practice all the way through, in fact, but I think Jody Scheckter's obviously the only man in the position at this time to really compete with him. Jody Scheckter himself, and number 3, my old car, the Tyrrell Ford. Jody looking in his mirrors there for Clay Regazzoni. Now for both Jody Scheckter and for Niki Lauda, it's a good thing that Regazzoni is there because he's definitely going to a traffic jam behind him.
Niki Lauda's lead 1.8 seconds, and his time for the second lap according to our watch is 1:24, 113.57 miles an hour. And there's James Hunt off at Pilgrims, the driver walking away from the car. So the disastrous sequence of events which has pursued the Hesketh team this season after their non-championship win at Silverstone continues, and James Hunt is out of the race on the third lap.
Well, the biggest disappointment of all for British fans is that after only 2 laps we lost James Hunt in the Hesketh. James, what happened?
Well, I'm not quite sure, but I had some sort of failure at the back of the car in the middle of the South Bank corner on the right rear wheel. I don't know whether it was a suspension or a tyre or something, but anyway, the car just spun straight round and off the track, so that's the end of it for us. But I have a suspicion there was something was wrong from the very start. On the warming up lap, the car was handling very, very badly. We just changed cars. We had to run our spare car because the race car sprung a fuel leak half an hour before the start, so I suppose it's just not our day, really.
Jody Scheckter making a fairly clean job of lapping here. One of the good things about Brands Hatch, in fact, is the very good flag marshalling. It's tremendous. And there's a car spun. It's hand stuck. He spun. Here's something wrong with him. He's obviously bent the rear right-hand wheel. He's hit something. It's Sterling's bend. The car's sitting in the middle of the road. You can see the very good work, the yellow flag work by the marshals, the emergency crews, and I'm sure they'll get that car moved away.
John Watson gets through, and there goes Carlos Reutemann getting through. Reutemann's had a spin too, and there goes Niki Lauda safely through. There goes Beltwells, who's been lapped. There goes Carlos Pace out of it. There goes Denny Hum. There goes Jody Scheckter in second place, safely through. There's Jadier going through in the shadow, who's been lapped. The marshals now courageously coming out to move the car.
Ronnie Peterson behind, Clay Regazzoni just going through the picture as the marshals clear away. You can see the excellent flag work. They are slowing the drivers round so that the emergency crews can get cleared away. They're getting a rope for it. They're going to drag the car.
And there goes the shadow. Now, there's been a change in the order. If Carlos Reutemann had indeed spun off while ahead of Emerson Fittipaldi, he spun at South Bank, so we'll have to check the lap chart now. But meantime, Niki Lauda well out of this lot, and with a lead of 8 seconds now on Jody Scheckter in second place. In third place, Clay Regazzoni. In fourth place now, Ronnie Peterson. Clay Regazzoni third, fourth, Ronnie Peterson, fifth, Emerson Fittipaldi, and sixth, Tom Price. So Tom Price is in the World Championship scoring bracket. It's the leading Ferrari of Niki Lauda then comfortably in the lead by 8 seconds from Jody Scheckter in second place, and Ronnie Peterson has just come into the pits.
Now this is a very significant thing for the World Championship and obviously this race. Without Ronnie Peterson in that, there's a lot of pressure off of Clay Regazzoni, and this is an excellent thing for the World Championship as far as Ferrari are concerned, as well as for Niki Lauda himself and of course Clay Regazzoni. Obviously some despair down there.
But nevertheless, terribly bad luck on Ronnie Peterson.
It's Regazzoni, he's Clay Regazzoni in the pits, and he's got a puncture as well. They're changing a front right-hand wheel. Now, I'm sure it's something to do with the debris. That's 2 cars being in the pits in a matter of minutes. Migo's aerofoil has fallen off. You can see this. He's being black flag because the aerofoil is, of course, a very dangerous situation. That could fly off, hit any marshal, even spectators, apart from leaving debris on the racetrack itself. Migo's BRM, obviously some sort of structural failure in the aerofoil. He's still going quickly. Of course, the car is unstable now. As he comes over the top at Pilgrims here, you'll see him in a few moments. He's looking in his mirror. He surely must have felt it. In this case, he should really slow down and stay off the main groove on the track.
But he's going pretty quickly there, Jackie.
I'm afraid Migo is a little insensitive at times to more than just his racing car, because this is no way. Look at it flashing around there. This could really cause an accident. Why doesn't he slow down? He could have himself off the road. He could leave that aerofoil in the middle of the track and be hit by a fellow competitor that could seriously damage a car, and of course the life of a driver is always in danger in a case like that.
Meantime, he has been given the black flag with his number, which means that you come into the pits, and there's the leader coming out of Sterling's. There's Regazzoni going through Sterling's. There's Reutemann. So it's only about the length of the pit straight, really, between the two cars.
If Jody Scheckter could just see him on the track, this would help. You know, it gives the driver a lot of spirit. It gives him a lot of enthusiasm. If he just sees the tail end of the leading car ahead of him, this will certainly give him that little jab that he needs. And of course he's going to see a Ferrari in front of him. Even if it's not Nicky Lauda's, he's going to see the tail end of Clay Regazzoni's Ferrari. Now that might just be the car he's looking for. Mike Hailwood.
Mike Hailwood off at Westfield when lying 5th on the 58th lap. Mike Hailwood with a lot of grass on the right-hand wheels, not apparently punctured. Would you think an engine failure here?
He's back in the car, he's trying to start the car. I don't know whether he's spun going round Westfield or what's happened. He's gone up the inside of the racetrack because he's got grass on each side of the car. It seems peculiar that he's trying to start the car, but of course an engine, when it's very hot, a racing engine, is difficult to restart. This is not an easy thing. You can see the marshals there with their fire equipment on the left-hand side of your picture, properly dressed in the case of an emergency, their helmets and their fireproof overalls. Mike Hailwood is not getting his engine restarted.
And you can see the heat rising off the engine of the McLaren M23. Very bad luck on Mike Hailwood. Very, very bad luck. Lying 5th and going well in the hunt for points.
I think he's got a puncture in his rear right wheel. I can see almost the depression on the tyre. It may be that he's got a slow puncture. The profile of the tyre looks to me to be a little down in the middle. Now, I may be wrong. We're looking from the television monitor, but it looks to me like the depression on the crown of the tyre could mean a puncture. This would slow him up.
And here's Jody Scheckter in pursuit anyway, closing up. Now, this is going to be very interesting indeed. Coming up to the completion of the 69th lap with 6 laps of the 2.65-mile circuit to go. And Lauda certainly doesn't know he's got a puncture because he hasn't gone into the pits. There he goes through Paddock Bend.
At this stage in the race, if it's only a slow puncture, he may be able to hold it, but there, I'm sure he can't. He's slowing down too much. There's smoke coming out of the back of the car also. A little puff of smoke there as he goes down into Bottom Hill. The Ferrari people lining themselves up in the pits waiting for it. They're looking towards the racetrack themselves. The pit's a very important part here because the Ferrari pit work, in fact, is very good, but certainly not good enough to save this man's lead if he has to stop.
And Nicky Lauda is only...
My goodness, with Jody Scheckter right behind him now.
Right on his tail. Look, there you see the two cars. There's first and second place as they come up to 70 laps with 5 laps to go. Now, there's Jody Scheckter in the blue Tyrrell, raising his finger to Nicky Lauda ahead of him in the red Ferrari number 12. Here's a turn up for the book. Nicky Lauda, who's dominated this race, but Jody Scheckter, who's really fought manfully to keep in touch and now knows exactly what the situation is, and that tyre is done.
He's going to pass him now. He'll certainly pass him down. Nicky Lauda is going to come into the pits, I'm sure. Jody Scheckter, and he hasn't let him through. He hasn't gone across. He hasn't gone across.
There he goes now on the outside coming into clearways. It's Jody Scheckter taking the lead with the Tyrrell at the 71st lap with 4 laps to go. The young South African Jackie Stewart's replacement in the Tyrrell team lives up to Ken Tyrrell's confidence in him and takes the lead from the Ferrari. Now, the big question is, will Nicky Lauda have to come into the pits with a puncture if that is the case, or is he going to soldier on in the hope of finishing? Because now behind him he's got Emerson Fittipaldi, although Emerson is quite a long way back on the McLaren M23 number 5.
What a situation for Jody Scheckter and the British Tyrrell team. This is Ken Tyrrell. This must be a great moment from him. We've won the British Grand Prix before. Of course, there's somebody on the grass there. Tom Price going wide on the grass there.
Now, here's Nicky Lauda, and there's Carlos Reutemann right on his tail now. Now, if he has slowed that much, and he obviously has, Reutemann will be pressing to get past. Carlos Reutemann with the white Brabham, the Works Brabham, on which he's had very mixed fortune. Reutemann is a lap down, of course, but he was split earlier in the race. He had a spin, and the car's obviously in good song, and he's getting past the Ferrari. So the Ferrari is obviously in trouble. Nicky Lauda now really in trouble, and Carlos Reutemann is currently in 6th position.
Now, I think it must be that tyre that I saw go down earlier on. I just saw the profile. Now, this is something that a racing driver must always look for in his mirror. It may be this that's causing the slowing down procedure of Nicky Lauda. It could be something else, of course. It's difficult for us to see from here. But he must stay on the racetrack. He's got so few laps to go that he can't risk coming into the pits. If he goes into the pits, there's an awful long time to stay in there. There is a puff of smoke coming out of the back of the car. Now that could be almost anything. A very disappointing situation for Nicky.
But he is still in second place, and Emerson Fittipaldi in the McLaren number 5 is only a few seconds behind him and closing up. There he is now on the right. There's Lauda on the inside, and Emerson Fittipaldi going past him, so he's now in third place.
The tyres are smoking now. The tyre is breaking up because no tyre can put up with this. The tyre itself, you'll see, is smoking as he comes in. There's the tyre smoking. The left-hand rear tyre is starting to break up because of temperature. It's questionable now whether he can get even round to finish this race. I very much doubt it. He'll be on the rim before long. Now he must stay out of trouble. He's got to be very careful. The tyre fly off the rim here. It could cause him a big accident because even at this reduced speed, he's still travelling very fast by road standards.
What a desperate disappointment for Nicky Lauda, but what a turn-up for the book as far as Jody Scheckter is concerned in the lead. And now Emerson Fittipaldi in second place, and Jackie Hicks, to his great surprise, looks as if he's going to be third on JPS number 2. Meantime, there's John. He's gone on. He hasn't gone into the pits. Nicky Lauda hasn't gone into the pits. There's John Watson on his tail. This is really extraordinary. He's got 3 laps to go on the 2.65-mile circuit if he's going to finish. And if he's going to finish and score any points, he's going to be very pushed indeed.
He's got to be very careful. The biggest problem here, in fact, is to keep the car on the road, because if that tyre comes off the rim, he's going to fly off the road. Now, this is right on his fingertips, right? He's holding on the edge of a major accident. He's got to be very careful indeed. This, of course, puts the World Championship in a real big change situation. Nicky Lauda, after leading this race as he has done, a great disappointment, but of course a great success story for Ken Tyrrell's team, who now find themselves very much in the lead, with Jody Scheckter leading the British Grand Prix.
They're on their 73rd lap of the 72 laps actually completed. Jody Scheckter in the lead from Emerson Fittipaldi. The Ferrari of Nicky Lauda still third, ahead of Jackie Hicks, and fifth is Clay Regazzoni, and sixth is Carlos Reutemann.
There can be hardly any air left in this tyre. There's only around 15 or 18 pounds per square inch at the beginning of the race when the tyre is fully inflated. You'll see the tyre flexing because really there's no pressure in it.
I think we should look for Jody Scheckter. Meantime, we're looking out for Jody Scheckter now in the lead with the Tyrrell. There he is. Tyrrell number 3, what a drive for this young South African replacement for Jackie Stewart. Lauda still third, of course. Emerson Fittipaldi in second place with the McLaren behind Jody Scheckter's Tyrrell. And then it's Jackie Hicks, who, as I say, must be very surprised because he really wasn't a contender in his JPS. It was the JPS of Ronnie Peterson that was providing all the fire, both in practice and in the early stages of the race, having started in pole position alongside Lauda. 73 laps completed. They're on their 74th. And now Jody Scheckter reeling off the mileage. And here's Lauda coming up to Hawthorns with the tyre, the right-hand rear tyre, shredding off now.
It's stopping, the tyre's stopping as it goes round there. You can see the tyre's beginning to slip on the rim itself sometimes. He's going very slowly. It's going to wreck the rear suspension in this condition.
It's going to ruin the car.
The car's going to break. The rear suspension itself, of course, in the Ferrari is pretty strong, but that tyre is finished. It was a very difficult decision for a driver to make under these circumstances. He either makes the decision to keep going or to come into the pits. And you can see bits and pieces flying off of that tyre. Very soon it'll be on the rim, and then surely he will not be able to go much further.
Meantime, Jody Scheckter is on his last lap in the lead as the Ferrari limps painfully on. It's Jody Scheckter. And Nicky Lauda has just lost third place to Jackie Hicks. Jackie Hicks has got past him, and can he get it to the checkered flag? There'll be no rubber left on that tyre at all. Jody Schechter's time for his 74th lap, 23.7, and he's coming up.
He's come into
the pits after all that, and Jody Schechter's on his last lap, coming up to take the checkered flag in the British Grand Prix. Here he comes, Jody Schechter on his way to the checkered flag in the British Grand Prix of 1974 in Tyrrell, number 3. There's the checkered flag, and Jody Schechter wins for Tyrrell and South Africa. Now we've got to see the second man home. Second man home will be Emerson Fittipaldi in the McLaren. There's Jody Schechter on his lap of honour. Now Emerson Fittipaldi has taken the checkered flag in second place. Third will be Jackie Ickx, fourth Clay Regazzoni in the Ferrari, and fifth Carlos Reutemann in the Brabham, and sixth will be Denny Hulme on the McLaren M23.
Well, Nicky Lauda, while the cheering the man who won the race with what? Just a minute and a little while to go, you lost it. What exactly happened?
I just got a puncture in the right rear wheel 20 laps before the end, and the air just disappeared slowly, and that was it. You couldn't do anything about it.
We were standing in your pit watching the signals. They were going to bring you in, then they weren't. You just had to come in at that moment, did you?
No, I just tried to carry on, because I thought I'd lose more time when I'm in the pits. But at the end, just the tire, because there was no air in it, just exploded, and I had to stop.
Nicky, this really did look as if it was going to be the first Ferrari win since, Von Trips in '61. How do you feel now?
Well, I'm very sad, but I can't help it, and what can I do in the moment? I can't do anything. The car was going perfect, we had absolutely no problems. So I just did what I could do, and I failed.
The team manager Ferrari here, Luca, this was terribly bad luck. How do you feel?
Well, I think that Nicky shown today that no question he's the best driver in the world, because to lead a so difficult race as Brands for all the race in that situation is very important. And the Ferrari is a very good car. We were really very unlucky, and I'm sorry for him, because 3 laps to go he was in the lead of the championship. But I would like to point out strongly another thing, that I didn't like that somebody stopped him and didn't let him to go out before the end of the race, because he was able to make 1 more laps, and for us was important to make the 4th place in the race.
Jody, congratulations on one of the most breathless finishes to a Grand Prix we've ever seen. When did you know you'd won the race?
Well, when the flag went down. I never count my chickens before they hatch.
You'd given a tremendous chase, Jody. Did you at ever time think you could overhaul Nicky Lauda?
Well, at some stage in the middle I thought maybe I could catch him, and I pressed on as hard as I could, but I couldn't. He was really going well, and towards the middle, towards the 3/4 way through, I felt myself catching him, but then I think he slowed quite suddenly more.
Now, according to our ratings, you're about 1 point behind him in the World Championship, and the next race is Nürburgring. What do you feel about that?
Well, we've never expected to be so high in the first full year, and the first year with Tyrrell. We're very pleased, and things seem to be going our way, although at the beginning of practice we had a lot of things going wrong, and we thought it was going to be a bad weekend.
Well, Jackie Stewart, who's been commentating for us today, said that when things go badly in practice, things go well in the race. He's a bit of a prophet as well, isn't he?
Well, he said at the ELF conference that he thinks I'm not going to win. He thought Nicky was going to win. He was nearly right, but that's the way it goes.
Well, what they overlooked in the heat of the moment, and who can blame them, was that Emerson Fittipaldi, finishing in second place, neatly and surprisingly shot himself back into the lead of the World Championship table. And with only 1 point between Fittipaldi and Lauda, and then 1 point again to Regazzoni and Schechter, certainly it's anybody's championship, and the next round at the Nürburgring, Nicky Lauda's favourite circuit, right at the beginning of next month.